Irodov 1.2. So now the question states, a point traverses half the distance with a velocity v0. So let us assume that the total distance that a particle covers is d. So it covers half the distance, that is d by 2, with a velocity v0. The remaining part of the distance was covered with a velocity v1 for half the time. So let us assume for d by 2 distance it took t1 time to complete, and for the rest of the d by 2 distance a total of t2 time was taken. So now it covered half that time, that is t2 by 2, with a velocity of v1, and with velocity v2 for the other half of the time, that is for the rest t2 by 2 it had the velocity v2. Then it says find the mean velocity of the point averaged over the whole time of the motion. So this basically means that we need to find the average velocity. So we know the formula of average velocity, that is total displacement upon the total time taken. So now we already know what is the time taken, that is t1 plus t2, and we also know the displacement, that is d. So d plus t1 plus t2. So now the variables over here are d, t1 and t2. So we need to replace them, not even replace them, but we need to substitute them with known values, that is v0, v1 and v2. So we need to somehow substitute these values. So we already know how we can write t1. We know that v0 velocity, it covered half the distance in time t1. So I can write t1 is equal to d by 2 v0. So this is one relation. The other relation which I can form is that it had a velocity v1 for a distance d1 for half the time, like this, and it had a velocity v2 for a distance of d2 for half the time again. Now I can write that d1 plus d2 is equal to d by 2, because it's this total distance. So now I can write d1 as v1 t2 by 2 and d2 as v2 t2 by 2. So now putting the values over here, we get the value of d equal to v1 t1 plus that would be t2. So v1 t2 plus v2 t2 is equal to d. Taking t2 common, v1 plus v2 distance, so we get the value of t2 as d upon v1 plus v2. So we know both these values, t1 and t2. Substituting them, d plus v1 plus v2. Now as the d is common, we can cut that out. On solving this, we will get 2v0 v1 plus v2 v1 plus v2 plus 2v0, and this is our average velocity. That's all.